For a serious cleaning of a knitting machine, we take the needles out, and in the case of pass-ups, also take the pushers out. This batch is clean and ready to go back in. How did they get that way? We start by soaking them in some sort of cleaning solution, and ideally it's strong enough to loosen any attached grit and grease and old hair and any nastiness that might be on them, but it must not destroy the metal, of course. I soaked mine in this vat of Marvel Mystery Oil, which does a nice job of not only cleaning safely, but lubricating the teensy-weensy little hinges that make the latches. I do not, however, like Mystery Oil as a general machine lubricant, so I'll get this off later. Other people like other solutions for washing, just so it cleans well but doesn't destroy the metal. And of course, it should be safe for you to be around. Occasionally, you do get hold of some exceptionally dirty needles, so that simply wiping them off, oops, wrong cloth, that's a regular paper towel and it could leave lint. These shop towels or old t-shirts don't. Sometimes not all of the nastiness wipes off. There's a shot there and it shows up much better in the pusher. I had a terrible time getting you shots of a dingy needle, even though I had some to show you, because the parts of the needle that are shiny make the photograph glare. But you're looking for deposits that are not only not shiny, you can feel the roughness with your hands. You can see there's some debris here. It almost appears to be rust, but it is not. It is a buildup of a combination of machine oil and lint from knitting. See, it comes right off if, having softened it first with soaking in your cleaning solution, you use a little file. This is a fine file. It's a very cheap one. You wouldn't want to do this to a nice expensive file because it's definitely not good for the file, but we're trying to save our knitting tools and it's very good for them. That's a cheap set from eBay and I'm using the flat file. Right in there was a little deposit. And why is this a big deal? Because the needle butt, let's hold it so you can see it, has to move through the carriage, or in this case lock, because it's a passive needle. And this area may slide through, depending on the model of machine, either the fabric or other places, channels on the carriage, needleway pathways. Sometimes, because you might be dealing with a vintage machine, all the discoloration won't come off. The metal can be truly stained. You'll see it'll show up better in this pusher. I think I see both deposits and staining. The deposits will easily come off with the file. The staining won't, and it doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is make sure that everything that the machine has to move, usually the carriages or locks, is clean, because even the smallest amount of debris will change the size and smoothness of the needle or the pusher and render it unsuitable to pass through where it needs to. Now this looks a lot closer to shiny and new, but there's still a dark spot. However, here's my rule of thumb. If I can't feel it with my finger, it is probably staining, not debris. You can always give it a little bit more effort, elbow grease, and see. However, you do not want to overdo. It's not at all desirable to change the original dimensions of either a pusher or a needle. Let's do another pusher. Of course, it's glistening and looking faintly reddish because I had it in Marvel Mystery Oil, and the glistening will go away when I wipe it off. So should any black or reddish color. I don't have any rust on the ones I'm working on, but if you rescue one that's been stored in a barn or a garage or something, you may have actual rust, and this may clean it off. Sometimes the rust is simply too deep to salvage the tool. Okay, even without wiping it down, you can see the improvement. And I would call that one ready to go. Quite a lot of deposits on this one. I can feel it smoothing out. The tool actually has enough sensitivity, you can feel it rasping on something uneven when it's cleaning debris off. And it feels smooth once the debris is gone. It's almost a, I don't know, a squeaky clean feeling. Now, everything that would pass through the machine or the fabric, needle butt, the shank. In this case, this part of the shank will definitely be in the needle channel. This part will definitely go through the pathways on the lock. I found another little bit that I hadn't noticed before. Oh, there's a piece. This one was quite bad. Now, you may wonder, is all of this worth it? I would say yes, because needles are running about $2 a piece, and they're not that easily available. Plus, there's just a sense of not wanting to waste. If you can get all brand new needles, do. If you can catch the dirtiness to clean before one gets into this condition of this much dirt, you're certainly better off. This is far from ideal. But when you rescue a vintage machine, it is not your fault that it arrives with a checkered past. So this is something that you can do to possibly salvage it. A little bit more about passip pushers. They control the needles. When they go up, underneath each working needle, that needle knits. When they're down, it doesn't, is the fundamental use of them. This part of the pusher is picked up by a scoop on the underside of the lock. This part controls the needles by pushing them up or pushing them, allowing them to come back down. So definitely this hook needs to be clean. It goes through the lock. But also they fit into those skinny little pusher channels. There is no extra room. That's why the slightest bit of nastiness or buildup on a pusher will cause endless patterning problems when there's really nothing wrong with the machine.